Somehow I'm getting an echo in the studio. How you guys doing? Good evening and welcome to another Sunday night edition of Accessibly Live, the book club reading room. Hope everyone's having a really good night. For those of you in the United States, it is counting down today to Turkey Day this Thursday. Parades, family get-togethers, lots of really good food. Tonight, we're going to get into one of science fiction's greatest authors, Ray Bradbury. He was one of those literary geniuses that came out of nowhere and delivered a punch of amazing storytelling. He was amazing, absolutely amazing. Ray Bradbury was in the world of fantasy and science fiction writers one of the most prolific and expansive. He wrote many styles in the genre and talked about subjects that most people would kind of shy away from. He wrote 51 books, 51 short stories, hosted a television program, believed in social criticism, and actually developed the narration of Disney's Epcot Center Spaceship Earth. He created so much. Ray Bradbury was one of those that it was kind of amazing in what he did. Um, I mean, his stories are literally known around the world. And those stories range from great movies and great made for TV series, from Something Wicked This Way Comes, The Martian Chronicles, and his other big book that has been well known, Fahrenheit 451. Um, it's Fahrenheit 451 has come to the forefront the last few years. Um, Most of you guys know that I am really against the people who want to ban and burn books. They have no reason, wants, or desires to do so. For me, as an old school teacher, for me, as someone who believes that you out there deserve and have the right to watch or read without being told by the government or by a church what you should and should not be reading. And Fahrenheit 451 takes what could possibly be a future here and runs with it, and he runs with it with great gusto. If you haven't seen it, it is an older movie. It was remade recently and was made on Netflix, I believe, made for Netflix movie. If you get a chance, watch it. He never got a chance to see this new iteration of the book, but the storytelling is frightening and very, very good. Highly recommend. So if you guys are looking for a good book, actually recommend all three of these. I actually read Martian Chronicles in high school as part of my high school reading program that we had through our English department. It was amazing. In Something Wicked This Way Come, if you have not seen that movie, really, truly, highly recommend it. It will keep you on the edge of your seat. And it will might give you a few goosebumps here and there. We're gonna get started. I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. As always, I appreciate it if you can like and subscribe when you get to see the arrow just above my head or down below, that sort of thing. But let's get started. Let us get started with Ray Bradbury's 0 hour here on Accessibly Live, the book club reading room. Oh, it was to be so jolly. What a game. Such excitement they hadn't known in years. The children catapulted this way and that across the green lawns, shouting at each other, holding hands, flying in circles, climbing trees, laughing. Overhead, the rockets flew, and beetle cars whispered on the streets, but the children played on. Such fun, such tremulous joy, such tumbling and hearty screaming. Mink ran into the house, all dirt and sweat. For her 7 years, she was loud and strong and definite. Her mother, Mrs. Morris, hardly saw her as she yanked out drawers and rattled pans and tools into a large sack. Heavens, Mink, what's going on? The most exciting game ever, gasped Mink, pink faced. Stop and get your breath, said the mother. No, I'm okay, gasped Mink. Okay, I'll take these things, Mom. Don't dent them, said Mrs. Morris. Thank you, cried Mink, and boom, she was gone like a rocket. Mrs. Morris, surveying the fleeing tot, what is the name of the game? Invasion, said Mink. The door slammed. In every yard on the street, children brought out knives and forks and pokers and old stove pipes and can openers. It was an interesting fact that this fury and bustle occurred only among the younger children. The older ones, those 10 years and more, disdained the affair and marched scornfully off on hikes or played a more dignified version of hide and seek on their own. Meanwhile, parents came and went in chromium beetles. Repairmen came to repair the vacuum elevators in the houses, to fix the fluttering television sets, or hammer upon stubborn food delivery tubes. The adult civilization passed and repassed the busy youngsters, jealous of the fierce energy of the wild tots, tolerantly amused at their flourishing, longing to join in themselves. This and this and this, said Mink, instructing the others with their assorted spoons and wrenches. Do that. Bring that over here. No, here, ninny. Right. Get back while I fix this. Tongue in teeth, face wrinkled in thought. Like that, see? 12-year-old 12-year-old Joseph Connors ran up. Go away, said Mink straight at him. I want to play, said Joseph. Can't, said Mink. Why not? You just make fun of us. Honestly, I wouldn't. No, we know you. Go away or we'll kick you. Another 12-year-old boy whirred by on motorized skates. Aye, Joe, come on. Let's leave them sissies play. Joseph showed reluctance and a certain wistfulness. I want to play, he said. You're old, said Mink firmly. Not that old, said Joe sensibly. You'll only laugh and spoil the invasion. The boy on the motor skates made a rude lip noise. Come on, Joe. Let them in their stuff. Let's. Joseph walked off slowly. He kept looking back all down the block. Mink was already busy again. She had gathered a kind of apparatus with her gathered equipment. She had appointed another little girl with a pad and pencil to take down notes and painfully slow scribbles. Their voices rose and fell in the summer sunlight. All around them, the city hummed. The streets were lined with good green and peaceful trees. Only the wind made a conflict across the city, across the country, across the continent. In 1,000 other cities, there were trees and children and avenues, businessmen in their quiet offices tapping their voices or watching televisors. Rockets hovered and darted needles in the blue sky. There was the universal quiet conceit and easiness of men accustomed to peace, quiet, and certain there would be never be trouble again. Arm in arm, men all over the earth were a united front. The perfect weapons were held in equal trust by all nations. A situation of incredible, beautiful balance had been brought about. There were no traitors among men, no unhappy ones, no disgruntled ones. Therefore, the world was based on stable ground. Sunlight illuminated half the world, and the trees doused in tide of warm air. Mink's mother from upstairs window gazed down. The children. She looked down upon them and shook her head. Well, they'd eat well, sleep well, and be in school on Monday. Bless their vigorous little bodies. She listened. Mink talked earnestly to someone near the rose bush, though there was no one there. These odd children. And the little girl, what was her name? Anna. Anna took notes on a pad. First, Mink asked the rosebush a question, and then called out the answer to Anna. Triangle, said Mink. What's a tri? Anne said with difficulty. Angle. Never mind, said Mink. How do you spell it? Asked Anna. Tri, spelled Mink, slowly, then snapped. Oh, spell it yourself. She said, she went on to another word. Beam, she said. I haven't got try, said Anna. Angle down yet. Well, hurry, hurry. Mink's mother leaned outside the windows. Angle, she spelled down to Anna. Oh, thanks, Mrs. Morris, said Anna. Certainly, and Mink's mother and withdrew laughing to dust the hall with the electro duster magnet. The voices wavered on the shimmering air. Beam, said Anna, fading. 497 A and B and X, said Mink, far away seriously. And a fork and a string and a hexagonal. At lunch, Mink gulped milk at once toss, and it was out the door. Her mother slapped the table. You sit right back down, commanded Mrs. Morris. Hot soup in a minute. She poked a red button on the kitchen butler, and 10 seconds later, something landed with a bump into the rubber receiver. Mrs. Morris opened it and took the can out with a pair of aluminum holders, unsealed it with the flick, poured out the hot soup into a bowl. Hearing all this, Mink fidgeted. Hurry, Mom. This is a matter of life and death. Ah, I was the same way your age. Always life and death. I know. Mink banged away at the soup. Slow down, said Mother. Can't, said Mink. Drill's waiting for me. Who's Drill? What a peculiar name. You don't know him, said Mink. New boy in the neighborhood, asked Mother. He's new all right, said Mink. She started on her second bowl. Which one is Drill? Asked Mother. He's around, said Mink evasively. You'll make fun. Everyone pokes fun. Gee darn. Is Drill shy? Yes and no. In a way. Gosh, Mom, if I got to run, if we got to have the invasion, who's invading what? Martians invading Earth? Well, not exactly Martians. They're, I don't know, from up. She pointed with her spoon. And inside, said Mother, touching Mink's feverish brow. Mink rebelled. You're laughing. You'll kill Drill and everybody. I didn't mean to, said Mom. Drill's a Martian. No, he's, well, from Jupiter, Saturn, or Venus. Anyway, he had a hard time. I imagine, said Mrs. Morris, hiding her mouth behind her hand. They couldn't figure a way to attack Earth. We're impregnable, said Mother, in a mock seriousness. That's the word Drill used. That was the word, Mom. My, Drill's a brilliant little boy. 2-bit words. They couldn't figure out a way to attack Mom. Drill says, he says in order to make a good fight, you have to find a new way of surprising people. That way you win. He says also you got to have help from your enemy. A fifth column, said Mom. Yeah, that's what Drill said. They were going and they couldn't figure out a way to surprise Earth or get help. No wonder. We're pretty darn strong, laughed Mom, cleaning up. Ming sat there staring at the table, seeing what she was talking about. Until one day, whispered Mink melodramatically, they thought of children. Well, said Mrs. Morris brightly, and they thought of how grown-ups are so busy that they never look under rose bushes or on lawns, only for snails and fungus. And then there's something about dim-dims. Dim-dims. Dimensions. Dimensions? 4 of them. And there's something about kids under 9 in imagination. It's real funny to hear Drill talk. Mrs. Morris was tired. Well, it must be funny. You keep Drill waiting now. It's getting late in the day, and if you want to have your invasion before supper bath, you'd better jump. Do I have to take a bath? Growled Mink. You do. Why is it children hate water? No matter what age you live in, children hate water behind the ears. Drill says I won't have to take baths, said Mink. Oh, he does he? He told that all the kids. No more baths, and we can stay up till 10 o'clock and go to 2 televisor shows on Saturday instead of 1. Well, Mr. Drill better mind his P's and Q's. I'll call up his mother and Mink went to the door. We're having trouble with the guys like Pete Britz and Dale Jarrett. They're growing up. They make fun. They're worse than the parents. They won't believe in drill. They're so snooty because they're growing up. You'd think they'd know better. They were little couple years ago. I hate them worst. We'll kill them first. Your father and I last? Drill says you're dangerous. Know why? Because you don't believe in Martians. They're going to let us run the world. Well, not just us, but kids all over the block, too. I might be queen. She opened the door. Mom? Yes? What's logic? Logic? My dear, logic is knowing what things are true and not true. He mentioned that, said Mink. And what's impressionable? It took her a minute to say it. Why, it means, her mother looked at the floor, laughing gently. It means to be a child, dear. Thanks for lunch. Mink ran out and then stuck her head back in. Mom, I'll be sure you won't be hurt much. Really. Well, thanks, said Mom. Slam went the door. At 4 o'clock, the audio visio buzzed. Mrs. Morris flipped the tab. Hello, Helen, she said in welcome. Hello, Mary. How are things in New York? Fine. How are things in Scranton? You look tired. So do you, the children underfoot, said Helen. Mrs. Morris sighed. My Mink, too. The supper invasion. Helen laughed. Are your kids playing that game, too? Lord, yes. Tomorrow'll be geometrical jacks and motorized hopscotch. Were we this bad when we were kids in 48? Worse. When World War II was going. Don't know how my parents put up with me. Tomboy. Parents learn to shut their ears. Silence. What's wrong, Mary? Said Helen. Mrs. Morris' eyes were half closed. Her tongue slid slowly, thoughtfully over her lower lip. She jerked. Oh, nothing. Just thought about that. Shutting ears and never mind. Where were we? My boy, Tim's got a crush on some guy named Drill, I think it was. Must be a new password. Mink likes him too. Didn't know they had gotten as far as New York. Word of mouth, I imagine. Looks like a scrap drive, I imagine, to Josephine and her kids. And that's in Boston. They're wild on this game too. It's sweeping the country. How at this moment Mink trotted into the kitchen and gulped a glass of water. Mrs. Morris turned. How are things going? Almost finished, said Mink. Swell, said Mrs. Morris. What's that? A yo-yo, said Mink. Watch. She flung the yo-yo down on the string, reaching the end. It vanished. See, said Mink. Opie. Dribbling her finger, she made the yo-yo reappear and zip up the string. Do that again, said her mother. Can't. 0 hours, 5 o'clock. Bye. Mink exited, zipping her yo-yo. On the audio visor, Helen laughed. Tim brought one of those yo-yos in this morning, but when I got curious, he said he wouldn't show it to me. And when I had tried to get it to work, finally, it wouldn't work. You're not impressionable, said Mrs. Morris. What? Never mind. Something I thought of. Can I help you, Helen? I want to get that black and white cake recipe. The hour drowsed by. The day waned. The sun lowered in the peaceful blue sky. Shadows lengthened on the green lawns. And laughter and excitement continued. One little girl ran away crying. Mrs. Morris came out the door. Mink, why is Peggy Ann crying? Mink was bent over in the yard near the rose bush. Yeah, she's a scared baby. Scare baby. We won't let her play now. I guess she's getting too old to play. I guess she's all grown up all of a sudden. Is that why she cried? Nonsense. Give me a civil answer, young lady, or come inside. Mink whirled in consternation, mixed with irritation. I can't now. It's almost time. I'll be good. I'm sorry. Did you hit Peggy Ann? No, honest. You ask her. It was something. Well, she's just scaredy pants. The ring of children drew in around Mink, where she scowled at her work and spoons and the square shaped arrangement of the hammers and the pipes. There and there, murmured Mink. What's wrong? Said Mrs. Morris. Drill's stuck. Halfway. If we could only get him all the way through, it would be easier. Then all the others could come through after him. Can I help? No, ma'am. Thanks. I'll fix it. All right, I'll call you for your bath in a half hour. I'm tired of watching you. She went in and sat in the electric relaxing chair, sipping a little beer from the half-empty glass. The chair massaged her back. Children, children. Children and love and hate side by side. Sometimes children love you and hate you all in a half second. Strange children, did you ever forget or forgive the whippings and the harsh, strict words of command? She wondered, and can you ever forget or forgive those who and above you, those tall, silly dictators? Time passed. Curious and silent, waiting silence came upon the street, deepening. 5 o'clock. The clock sang softly somewhere in the house. 5 o'clock. Time's a wasting. 5 o'clock. And purred away into silence. 0 hour. Mrs. Morris chuckled in her throat. 0 hour. A beetle car hummed into the driveway. Mrs. Morris, Mr. Morris. Mrs. Morris smiled. Mr. Morris got out of the beetle, locked it, and called hello to Mink at her work. Mink ignored him. He laughed and stood for a moment watching the children in their business. Then he walked up the front steps. Hello, darling. Hello, Henry. She strained forward on the edge of the chair, listening. The children were silent. Too silent. He emptied his pipe, refilled it. Swell day. Makes you glad to be alive. Buzz. What was that? Said Henry. I don't know. She got up suddenly, her eyes widening. She was going to say something. She stopped it. Ridiculous. Her nerves jumped. Those children haven't anything dangerous out there, have they? No, she said. Nothing but pipes and hammers. Why? Nothing electrical. Heck no, said Henry. I looked. She walked into the kitchen. The buzzing continued. Just the same, you'd better tell them to quit. It's after 5. Tell them. Her eyes widened and narrowed. Tell them to put off the invasion until tomorrow. She laughed nervously. The buzzing grew louder. What are they up to? I better go look. All right? The explosion. The house shook with dull sound. There was other explosions in the yards, all on the streets. Involuntarily, Mrs. Morris screamed. Up this way, she cried, senselessly, knowing no sense, no reason. Perhaps she saw something from the corner of her eyes. Perhaps she smelled a new odor or heard a new noise. There was no time to argue with Henry to convince him. Let him think she's insane. Yes, insane. Shrieking, she ran upstairs. He ran after her to see what she was up to. In the attic, she screamed. That's where it is. It was only poor excuse to get him into the attic in time. Oh God, in time. Another explosion outside. The children screamed with delight as if a great fireworks display. It's not in the attic, cried Henry. It's outside. No. Wheezing gasped. She fumbled at the attic door. I'll show you, Henry. I'll show you. They tumbled into the attic. She slammed the door, locked it, threw the key and threw it at a far cluttered corner. She was babbling wild stuff now. She came out of her, all the subconsciousness, suspicion, and fear that had gathered secretly all afternoon and fermented like wine in her. All the little revelations and knowledge and sense that had bothered her all day, and which she had logically, carefully, and sensibly rejected and censored. Now it exploded in her and shook her to bits. There, she said, sobbing against the door. We're safe until tonight. Maybe we can sneak out. Maybe we can escape. Henry blew up, too, but for another reason. Are you crazy? Why'd you throw that key away? Damn it, honey. Yes, I'm crazy if it helps, but stay here with me. I don't know how in the hell I can get out. Quiet, they'll hear us. Oh, God, they'll find us soon enough. Below them, Mink's voice. The husband stopped. There was a great universal humming, sizzling, a screaming and a giggling. Downstairs, the audio televisor buzzed and buzzed incessantly, alarming violently. Is that Helen calling? Thought Mrs. Morris. Had she called about what I think she's calling about? Footsteps came into the house, heavy footsteps. Who's coming into my house? Demanded Henry angrily. Who's tramping all around? Heavy feet. 20, 30, 40, 50 of them. 50 persons crowding in the house, and the humming, the giggling of the children. This way, cried Mink below. Who's downstairs? Roared Henry. Who's there? Hush. Oh, no, said his wife, weakly holding him. Please be quiet. They might go away. Mom? Called Mink. Dad? A pause. Where are you? Heavy steps, heavy steps came up the stairs, Mink leading them. Mom? A hesitation. Dad? Awaiting a silence. Humming. Footsteps towards the attic, Mink's first. They trembled together in silence in the attic, Mr. and Mrs. Morris. For some reason, the electric humming, the queer cold light suddenly visible under the door crack, the strange odor, and the alien sound of eagerness in Mink's voice finally got through to Morris too. He stood there, shivering in the dark silence, his wife beside him. Mom, Dad, footsteps, a little humming sound. The attic lock melted. The door opened. Mink peered inside, a tall blue shadows behind her. Peekaboo, said Mink. The end. Invasion. The ultimate level of terror when you least expect it. That was Ray Bradbury's 0 Hour. A very. Oh, that book is really good. I hope you guys like that. The story talks about what was always known as a fifth column in during war, where they would have the enemy would make children and young adults secretly part of their group. And then when time came, they would help with the invasion. Unfortunately, most would realize too late that there was no savior to keep them safe, that they would end up the same way. I hope you liked 0 Hour. It was a good story. Little frightening, little bit of fun. Something to keep your mind on in the future, because you never know. You never know what's going to happen. The way the world is now, you never know when a 0 Hour might come around. We are here every Sunday night, starting at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we do this, and we always seem to get some good books. A couple weeks ago, we read Hesiod's Theogony. Didn't go so well. I realize that, guys. I realize that was a little more heady than probably should have. And we'll concentrate on more of the adventure science fiction like we read now. A reminder, if you get a chance, to like and subscribe. Send that signal my direction. I appreciate it. This is the email. Give me a yell. Let me know how you guys are doing. Hope you're having a wonderful week. To everybody who's watching literally around the world, I've had people saying hello, sending me emails from Vancouver, from Brazil, from Texas, from Minnesota, and it's been fun, and I appreciate it. I really do. Um, we do at the end of the Thursday night edition of this show, of the other show that we do the Conversation Station, but we do here on the Book Club Reading Room something similar that we do on the Thursday night show. It's a final thought, final quote, but tonight, a little bit of humor. Books are sharks, because sharks have been around for a very long time. There were sharks before there were dinosaurs. And the reason sharks are still in the ocean is that there's nothing better at being a shark than a shark. The late legendary Douglas Adams, the man who gave us the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, and writer for television, writer for science fiction, and brilliant individual. Books are sharks. Books are sharks because they're always going to be around. And there's nothing better at being a book than a book. This is Accessibly Live, the book club reading room, every single Sunday night here. And I appreciate you watching. We're going to get out of here next week. A couple short stories. A reminder that next week, oh no, that's the week after. we got something special coming for the holidays. For those of you who remember that we did Nosferatu, the original 1926 vampire horror movie. I'm glad you liked it. Well, we're going to do something fun this year. We are going to do a public domain holiday movie. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. Here, you will find some really bad editing, bad video, bad acting, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And it could be just goofy enough to make you guys smile. That'll be coming up in a few weeks, and we'll get ourselves prepped and ready for that. We're going to get out of here. Take care, everyone. Be well, be safe, be kind. Have a wonderful, safe week ahead, wherever you are in this big, beautiful world, this big blue marble. And we will see you all next week here for a couple more short stories. Don't forget to watch for the little promos that we're putting up on the channel to let you know what everything will be. Take care, you guys. Have a great night. Bye-bye.